All right, let's make sure our audio video is good. We are live. All right, Jonathan, say something, please.
Something, please. Oh.
You want to make sure your echo is off. Yeah, you look like you have audio. Real quick. Yeah, I got your screen without audio, and I got your video with audio, so that should be the right setup. All right, and I can see us on the stream, so I think we are golden. All right.
Awesome.
Yeah, so good morning, folks. Good morning. If you're joining us anywhere from where we are. Jonathan, you're still in East Coast time, right?
Yep. Still on the East Coast time. Had a beautiful weekend here in Indiana. Sunshine.
Nice.
It was nice. Up in the high 70s. It was or low 70s. Excuse me.
Yeah, very nice. All right, I see the chat room filling up already. So Federspiel, if I'm saying that right, audio is clean. Thank you for confirming. No echoes. And Quintermetrics, good morning, and very good afternoon and good evening if you're joining us from other parts of the world. And welcome to Code It Live. This is, as you know, our channel where we talk about just about everything that we are passionate about. Lots of .NET, lots of JavaScript. You're going to see some CMS. This is kind of our Sitefinity Mondays series with Jonathan. So let's introduce ourselves. Once again, I'm Sam Basu. I am a developer advocate here at Progress Software. And
yeah, Jonathan Reed. I'm a solutions engineer for Sitefinity.
Very cool. Thank you for joining us, Jonathan. I'm going to switch my audio input a little bit so you're not too loud in my ears. All right, we're friends, but not that good friends.
Oh.
All right, so folks here in the chat room, again, if you this is the first time you're joining us, we do a lot of coding on the stream. If you saw the schedule up front before we started, we try going like Monday, Thursday, and Friday for me. But this Tuesday, we actually have something super special coming up. If you actually scroll down under our video, you can see it. It's a thing we called quarantine coding because, again, we are living through a global pandemic. We're trying to have a little fun. So my entire team, like 4 or 5 of us, we get online and we code for like 8 hours straight because we are suckers for pain, apparently. But it's a lot of fun. So we are going to do that tomorrow, actually, with, again, 4 of us. So we will try to go from 9 a.m. Eastern all the way to like 4 p.m. Eastern. And we started building out an app. And Jonathan, you may actually know this. So this kind of is internal to us, but we are trying to make it make a new tool that's open. So we have literally a gong that sits in our office, and every time there is something to celebrate,
That's right.
somebody goes out and hits the gong, and everybody cheers. We're missing that since everybody is working from home, so we're trying to build a virtual gong and also notify people. So we started doing that last time, but then we're going to follow up tomorrow and again try to
That's
actually
right.
integrate that with our systems and make things work end to end. So that should be a lot of fun, and that is coming up tomorrow. Today we are back with Sitefinity because Jonathan is the Sitefinity expert that you want to talk about, or that you want to talk to. He is the premier Sitefinity expert in our teams. So we are super glad to have him back on and just kind of start showing me the ropes. We got off to a good start last week, but today it's where the rubber meets the road, right?
Yeah, we're definitely gonna try to do that. I performed a couple activities during the week, but nothing too crazy. So we'll go over what a couple things I did offline and cover those, and then we'll get right into it whenever. I should get my designs up. Oh, geez, forgot to get my designs up. Let me grab those while we're talking about some stuff
So let
here.
me set up the stage while you get that up. So
Appreciate it.
Sitefinity is a CMS, and essentially last week we started off talking about CMSs in general. because a lot of developers, we tend to look at CMSs for like our blogs or like a one-off event thing,
Hmm.
but a really powerful CMS with intelligent integrations can really kind of elevate the product that you're trying to build. And we have like many thousands of super popular websites that run entirely on CMSs like Sitefinity. So Jonathan is kind of essentially showing me the ropes of how to approach this from a developer's standpoint. Like, how do I go around building templates and repeatable elements and bringing in design and doing things custom. So that's where we are at. So we'll try to maybe watch our time a little bit. Sorry. Give me a second.
Yeah, we'll try to behave this time.
Okay, sorry. So we'll try to maybe go hour and a half and see how much we can get done. And then we'll come back up next Monday. So Jonathan, take it away.
Yeah, no, great. Yeah, so today, again, we're going to cover some designs here, how we're going to, as a developer or architect, look at these designs, how we might break them down into really templating. I think, as HTML or website developers, we've probably all encountered, again, designs similar to this. Really, the hat that we're going to look at and wear is just, how we break them down or interact with them differently, maybe than just doing a straight static website or a brochure site, and how we look at that from a CMS perspective, a little bit differently than a static or a base HTML website.
Yeah. What's your before you start? What's your shirt? I've chosen.
Oh yeah, I've chosen wisely. Let me see here. Yeah,
What have you chosen wisely?
nice. What have I chosen wisely? How much? I don't. Let's see how much
Oh,
further I
there you
have to
go.
get up here.
Sitefinity. Okay. Yeah, you're wearing a Sitefinity shirt.
Oh yeah,
Super.
and then got my Kendo
Nice.
UI hat on
Nice,
today.
nice. I'm kind of neutral today. This is my alma mater. I went to North Dakota State, so go Bison, up in Fargo, North Dakota.
Nice.
And this is actually a Pluralsight hat from years back when I used to do Pluralsight courses. Okay, so you have a design that you have gotten from your designers, and you want to make your Sitefinity site look like that. Where do we start?
That's the goal. Well, yeah, great questions. Yeah, where do we start? Well, obviously, we're going to start with the design. Last week, we got started up with the initial setup of our Sitefinity project. So we spun up a blank web application. We then utilized NuGet packages to pull in the Sitefinity components that we Express database on my local machine here, and we'll pop into Visual Studio here quickly here in just a moment. There it is, and make sure also we got our page. I've already started the website as well, and we have our blank, exciting homepage here. I might also briefly get logged into Sitefinity. So when you're working on Sitefinity, you're always going to go /Sitefinity to get logged in. So we'll get that up and running as well. Switch a couple screens here. Good. All right. One other thing I said I was going to cover what I did, offline, so to speak, and I've added this to source control as well. So let me get that pulled up. I just, what happens if my computer dies? I'm that kind of guy. Uh, so let me go ahead and pull that up, and this will obviously be shared, and we'll make sure we get that in there. Keeping with my dark theme, of course, I keep my DevOps the same way. So I just called it Code It Live for now. It should be a public repository. If not, we'll figure that out as we go along here. Nothing too terribly exciting in there yet. No build agents or anything along those lines.
So this is Azure DevOps, right? And
That's
then what
correct.
what
Yep.
did
So
you
we're gonna.
upload? Because I mean, this is kind of
That's
a
right.
developer workflow that
Great
a lot of
question.
us would be interested in. What did you do?
Yeah, so realistically, I just added in those source files. So if we take a ride down here to repos and to files, um, realistically, I got the Sitefinity web app in there as well as my solution, of course, my get ignore and attribute files. And this is again our Sitefinity web application and the components that'll go along with that. I may to I may need to cruise over here just to make sure that I have everything. I've already done it for the most part. Really, the source of truth will be one of you pulling it and making sure we got everything checked in correctly, of course. But at this point, yeah, I really have that Sitefinity web application in there, our solution file. One thing we will need to do that I didn't do already would be getting in our NuGet files to make sure that the build agent will know where to pull our Sitefinity NuGet packages from. We'll get that in there. I won't spend too much time in the course of the demo doing that. I'm not sure that'll be a useful activity or not. But hey, we could do it if we want.
So you said this is like an Azure pipeline, but how is this open?
Yeah, so I haven't placed it into any pipelines or done any of those types of activities here. Realistically, just got my code into the Git repository is really all
Okay.
I've done. So, and here's that. And as far as the URL goes, actually, I should be able to just grab. Actually, we'll go to the overview page. We'll get, of course, some README files in there and that usual type of activity. But again, don't plan on spending too much of that type of time here. Happy to do it if anybody's interested. And here is the repository. Hopefully that made it into the chat window there.
Yeah.
Hopefully I did all
Yep.
that
Yep.
right. Oh, look at me go. Ah, snap. This is good. All right. So we got it on there. Yeah, if anybody wants to ensure that we can get to that or they can get to that URL, watch out for that. So yeah, so I got that up in source control. Again, we'll be adding in some README file. I've already messed up the project description there. Look at that. My URL's wrong.
I mean, I could get to it for what it's worth.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
Awesome. Awesome. So we at least got one confirmation there. Thank you, Sam. All right, so we got our Sitefinity dashboard loaded up as well behind the scenes. So I think we've got all the components that we need, and of course Visual Studio running the application here. So we're good to go. Actually, one other thing we may consider, and actually maybe we'll do this together, is I often like to run my sites when developing locally in IIS. So actually, let's go ahead and stop this site for now, and let me get this, and we'll do this together, and I think it'll be a good activity. Let's get this site running in Internet Information Services, or IIS. So let me pull this down. All right, can everybody see that okay? All right, D Federspiel got it. Thank you, sir. All right, so we got IIS here, and as you see, you have a lot of sites running in here. We'll go ahead and add a new website. We'll give this site a name, so we'll keep with our Code It Live here. This will create an application pool for me. We'll stick with that for now. We'll run this in a separate application pool. That's fine. Physical path will point to the path that I placed it in. I believe I placed it in a work folder here. We got Code It Live. And we're going to point it to the Sitefinity web app. So this is the compiled web app application location that the site is living within our solution directory. Okay, so we'll point it to that folder. Click OK there. We'll give it a host name. I'm just going to run it under localhost. It's fine. That way everything's already set up and ready to go. It's probably going to complain that I have something else hosted on there. Nope. I must have cleared it out beforehand. Lucky me. So we've hosted that on our local host application. The only other thing we'll need to do is we'll go into sites here. We'll grab our Code It Live example and double check our basic settings. Yep, we're good there. And I think we should be good to, actually permissions. Let's look at permissions here real quick. We'll have to set up permissions for Sitefinity. The application pool needs the ability to write to the app data folder. So in the development environment, usually I just grant access to the whole folder just to make things simple here. But what we're going to do is go application pool in here. So we're going to go, oh boy, it's been a while since I've done this, I guess. So let's see here. Oh my gosh. Someone's going to have to, oh man, it's been a minute since I've done this. Do you prefer IIS over Express so that you can control the host names more easily in multi-site configurations? What other benefits are there? Yeah, so multi-site is definitely a good point. Thank you, D. Federspiel. He must have worked in a CMS before. So yeah, so there are a number of benefits, especially if you are using the multi-site concept of Sitefinity. So just to touch on that for a little bit of brevity here is Sitefinity does ship out of the box with what we call multi-site management. What that means is you can actually host more than one website under the single code base. You can control each one of those as a different domain or subdomain or a subfolder in Sitefinity, and we can look at that in the UI here in a minute. So yeah, so it does make a little bit easier for setting up the multi-site instances. Also, when working, so I don't have to start and stop the site each time. Especially if I'm interacting with just the front end code, I find Visual Studio's interface is a little bit easier to interact with, especially on front end code, if I don't have Visual Studio running at the same time. So yeah, so when I start interacting with the templates and those types of activities, again, I've just found it over the years to be a little bit easier to interact with Visual Studio if I don't have the application running. Of course, you could run it in Visual Studio and interact with Visual Studio Code if you prefer that avenue, especially for front-end coding. It does have some added benefits in it as well, but I'm pretty old school, I guess. I stick with Visual Studio, and again, I am using Visual Studio 2019.
So Jonathan, I'm gonna play
Yeah,
devil's advocate and ask a really awkward
please.
question. So
I
Sitefinity
love it.
is ASP.NET MVC based. Is that correct?
Correct.
Where are we in terms of like our ASP.NET Core support? Is that cooking?
Well, I'm glad you brought that up. So, actually, in a couple weeks, release 13 or version 13. Thank you, Jay Hagen. See, he knows what he's doing.
He or she.
Or good point, could be. I actually know who he is, so I've worked with him in the past, so I will. Good point though. Keep me on my toes there and proper. Thank you, Sam. don't know. Yeah, we're still working on our app pool here. But yes, as far as .NET Core supports with version 13 coming around the corner. So we're shooting mid-May for version 13. There is a beta release out there for version 13. It does not have the .NET Core in the beta support right now, but we are starting a brand new, some I think it's out there already, but I'll double check. But a customer validation program for Sitefinity for things like .NET Core support. So what we're going to have coming with version 13 is a a customer validation program. I believe that's what we're calling it, at least, where we're going to be able to give access to that .NET Core support. And what is going to be there, and I've seen it, is a new editor. So a new page editor. And with that page editor, we'll open up layout as a service. So that's the real power behind a full implemented headless service. It will use the admin app for anybody who is familiar with Sitefinity already. And that new page building application will allow for us to then take really that RESTful service and then write any front end that we want with it. Right now, we have a renderer in .NET Core with a simple content block right now as our first trial into a fully .NET Core application. So what does it mean? We still will need IAS to manage our Sitefinity sites. So for the interaction for the database operations and things like that will still happen in IAS, but now we can host our front end on really anything. So obviously a lower Linux box, those types of things, which are a much more cost effective to run. A little bit easier to administer, spin up. Some of those applications, will make things easier. So .NET Core coming with version 13, release 13. That is, again, a couple weeks away. I think we're shooting mid-May. I think May somewhere. I feel like May 12th was said, but don't hold me to that. But yeah, it's next couple weeks. Some new support for .NET Core. So keep your eyes out for that. As that release comes.
Cool. No, I mean, I don't want to put you in a spot, but this is our product set.
No,
So
you're good.
it's a fair question because, like, again, I'm on a Mac today.
Yeah.
I've used plenty of Sitefinity that's hosted, but I was curious if we could also host this.
Yeah. So it's coming soon. There will be some caveats, obviously, as we're rolling this out, and it's first stage here. So it's cool. Coming, Sam. It's coming, and coming to the ability, for Mac users to potentially run the whole thing.
Cool. Okay. I don't want to keep interrupting you, but
definitely.
Let's go.
No. Hey man, this is what we're for here. So this is the exact point. So yeah, keep it coming. As somebody reminded me in the stream there, thank you. Yes, IAS app pool. And I got too many I's in there probably. There we go. IAS app pool, code it live, as I've named that. We're going to go ahead and just quickly check that name, and it did work. So thank you for the reminder.
You got another question. The page editor, is that new or same from 12?
So there will be a distinct editor for the .NET Core rendering engine. So yes, it will be different from the current page editor. Correct. Yep. Cool. Thank you. High fives for that. All right. So, yep, we all right. So just to recap here, just so we can see it live here, I went IIS space app PPPOOL / and then the name of the app pool, code it live. You can check names or hit OK. I went for a straight OK on this time. Let's select that app user. And again, just in my development box here, I'm just going to go ahead and just give them full control just to make my life a little bit easier here. So we'll go ahead and hit OK there. It's going to go ahead and apply those. Another OK here. I believe we can go ahead and give it a try here. Uh-oh, looks like something else happened here. What's going on? All right, so I know a couple things are going to happen here. One thing I'm probably going to need to do.
Hey Jonathan, we got something important.
Yeah.
Chat room is asking us to hydrate, so let's have a drink.
Oh, yes, please. Yes, it's very important. Hey, check this out. I brought a new cup today. This one is the Oasis at Lake Travis in Austin, Texas. Check this out. This place is pretty cool. It's got a restaurant, some unique shops, and so. Anyway, anybody who's been to Austin,
Cool.
one, keep it weird. Two, check this place out. It was pretty cool. I had a good time there.
I got a Thor cup. There's a
What do you?
it's just there's a conference where they make speakers be like superheroes, and they have like whole Marvel themed glasses
Oh,
that they printed out for us.
nice, nice. That's awesome. All right, so it looks like I had a quick issue. We got a 404 not found. All right, so we're gonna have to dig into what's going on here. So
Should I freak out?
So it looks like
Kidding.
nah,
Well,
you
I mean, you
good.
got
You
SpongeBob
good.
freaking out,
My,
so you take your time. He's
yeah.
not obtrusive.
Ah. All right, so let's sort of diagnose what's going on here. So 404 not found. You know, there could be a number of reasons for this. So let's go ahead and do it one more time. All right. So one thing I want to double check is I actually want to check a Chrome setting here. So let's go Chrome. Whoops. Let me go Chrome. Not new tab. We need to look at our net internal. So Sitefinity ships out of the box with a web security module. And since I run so many sites, it's probably set my HSTS for localhost, and now it really doesn't recognize what I'm potentially doing here. So I want to give this a quick clear here. So I'm going to go ahead and delete my localhost entry. And then let's make sure and try to access this first via HTTP. And let's see if we can get that to go. And it's taking a little bit longer, which is usually a good sign.
Thinking.
And we'll give this a brief, yeah, Lizzie is thinking. Yay, Microsoft. Let's give this a brief wait here. And a moment here, we'll see our Sitefinity loading gears.
Yeah, so like what you're pointing into, like that folder, like do you also need to worry about like IIS settings where if you have like a bunch of files in a folder and you're trying to expose that through a web server, it doesn't like it sometimes?
Potentially. So yeah, in this case, what we did here is, again, we took our application pool, there we go, and
Right.
we just gave it full control into this folder here. So let me just show you quickly the folder structure we're working in here. I'll get it opened up here. Let's see, code it live. Okay. So here is, again, our folder structure that we're working with. So we have our Code It Live solution here. All right, so this is the solution that's going to, because eventually, hopefully, if we can continue this on and everybody's enjoying it, we are going to bring in some additional projects and such here. So I have my solution living outside of my actual application, and this folder here is where the Sitefinity web app or our code is happening. So we look into here. Here is where we have all of our application files, right? So we got our MVC folder, we got our bin, our app data folder. Also in our app data folder, just on the way that I set up Sitefinity locally here, we have our MDF and LDF files here set up and rocking for our database. As far as our database goes, right now we're using SQL Express. And again, that application pool needed the ability to control the database here. So another reason we just quickly gave it full control so it can interact and write to this database. Side note, there, my application pool, so the database also knows that JRead has the ability to write in the database as well, and is what my local database user is running. So hopefully, if everything is set up and ready to go, we should have a Sitefinity page up here in just a moment. And let's see if we can log into the back end. All right, so some other things might be going on here. All right, let's see what's going on here. For some reason, we're getting a blank page. Usually leads me to think there's some permissions issue as well. Let's try to access over a secure. Oh, we don't have a security connection set up yet, so we don't want to do that. All right, so let's take a think through here. Let's Let's see if we can get to the front end page either. All right, everything is serving blank right now, so possibly still having some permissions issues with our local setup here. So let's see what else is going on. We can do one other thing too. Now would be a good time to think about checking the logs as well. I'm already in the app data folder. We have a Sitefinity folder and we have a logs folder. So we may consider taking a peek at our logs and see if anything's going on in there. So a couple of these are old, so maybe we'll just go ahead and delete them. Yep, that's good. And I like to open these up in Notepad++ personally. All right. So here's what we got in the debug log. So it just says our revision history isn't set up. Okay, that's fine. Let's open up our trace. All right, so there's some stuff happening in here. So take a brief peek and see what's going on. All right, so what is it saying? So an application restart has happened, some stuff. This is normal activities for Sitefinity. Basically, it's saying that the application restarted for some reason to do something, and it's just letting us know what it did here. And I know what this happens to be. I uninstalled the e-commerce module before the call as well. So we can actually clear out these logs just to make sure. So we seem to be good there as far as the logs. Let's go into Visual Studio. And what another trick for Sitefinity or just general web applications is, let's go ahead and modify the web config, as this will always cause a restart for the application itself. And let me get this back down here. All right, we're going to try this one more time. And if this doesn't go quickly and smoothly, we'll just go ahead and run it directly out of Visual Studio again. All right.
So what, just out of curiosity, what server is Visual Studio using? What is it using to host other than IIS?
Sure. Yeah, that's a great question. So Visual Studio will use IIS Express.
Oh, I see, the one that's built in.
Yep, that's right. Yep, the one that's built in there. All right, thank you. All right, come on, pop up here for me, taskbar. There we go. All right, so let's go back to Visual Studio there, and let's get Chrome open back up, and let's see. All right, so we're gonna give this a quick try here. I don't want to spend too much time on this. A couple other, okay, so we got some loading gears, that's good. And we do have our debug and trace logs still opened up here, so we can watch them in Notepad++. So give that a quick second.
This is a blast from the past for me. I used to be a Windows user for like years and years, and Notepad++ is like your comfort.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, it looks like we hit the same operation there. So something's going on here. Let's see if we had any logs right out. So we did get a trace log potentially. All right, but opening that back up. Nothing in it as of right now. All right. Well, that's a letdown here. All right, let's see what's going on. Nothing in the logs. Nothing in the site. We set our application pool. Got a database. Oh boy. All right. Well, I might have to play with that a little bit offline there. I don't want to take up too much time on this. Yeah, there's something silly going on. Yeah, I'm not sure what's going on there. I might have two sites pointed to the same thing. That's definitely a potential here. So let me go ahead and just quickly start in Visual Studio so we can get back on topic here, and we'll address that at another time. It's typically permissions based. Is usually what's going. So that's probably something specific with my application pool, and not having proper permissions on something. So we'll take a peek. We'll see if we have some more time later, and we can take a peek at that. But let's get back on topic here, which we plan to again cover the fact. what we did. Oh, sorry, some other things. So yeah, we talked about getting it into source control. So we did that. Additionally, once we get started up here, we'll show also. I uninstalled a particular module, which is the e-commerce module. And again, we don't need that one anymore. And with version 13, again, coming out in a couple of weeks, we are deprecating slowly our built-in e-commerce module, and we mostly focus with use commerce. So I just turn it off by default here. And again, most of the slowness of starting up here is mostly my machine getting consumed by the Twitch channel here. So bear with me here quickly. When I'm not running this stuff, it's much faster.
Yeah, you don't want
All
to
right,
look
there we
into like how much memory Skype is taking in right now.
go. No, I won't pop that open. Or maybe I should so they believe me. I don't know. All right. Oh, more hydration. I can do that. You just like my cup, don't you? All right. So let's get this spun up here. Okay, while that's spinning up, let's do a quick run through of our designs here. So our designers actually gave us a number of designs, and actually let me show you a few more here. So we have a homepage here. We have 3 different versions of the homepage. Each one's really just changing this banner graphic here as I step through. So we have a homepage design. Again, our designers have really gone above and included us in a number of different things. So let's take a look at that. So we got the home page. This is a menu type of page. So this we are going to display our menu items for our restaurant example. So we got that going on. Step out of this one. All right, next page here. Oops. Yep. Okay. So next page here, we have a preferred location. So apparently we're going to need to build out a location finder to some degree. What else do we got? A listing of our locations here. Let me zoom that one in. That one's pretty cool. So we got a listing of our, oops, sorry about that. A listing of our locations there. Couple things are starting to run through my mind as I'm looking through these different designs. If I'm building a static website, definitely I see some interactions with some mapping API potentially. I need some ability to create a location somehow. So we'll take a look at that. And what does a location mean? So well, that should start to trigger some ideas or thoughts as a content management developer of what I might need to do in the framework itself. So, with my years of experience here, I've obviously got an idea of what that is. But for you guys, this is something that we should start to look at. Content items. So I need structured content, right? So one of the main benefits of a CMS is building structured content, right? Some of those simple things, as you mentioned earlier, Sam, and some things that we come out of the box with Sitefinity is blog posts or news articles. Those are common content items or structured content that we ship with out of the box in Sitefinity. And there's a number of other types too: images, videos, documents and files, again, are some structured content that you can interact with directly in the CMS. Again, those are out of the box features of Sitefinity. Have maybe directly is a location structured content type. So we'll start to look at those today in Sitefinity. So some ideas are starting to roll around in my head about some needs for some custom content types, or we call them dynamic content types in Sitefinity, or custom content types. I kind of flow those terms interchangeably. So we'll talk about our module builder is the overarching tool in Sitefinity to build out these custom content types. So I'm starting to see some need for some custom content types here, maybe a location or a restaurant module. Let's see what else we can flow through here. I'm going too fast again. Sorry about that. Let me take one. So okay, yeah, that's the next screen here. here we have maybe a news listing design. So, all right. So, well, I mentioned we already come out of the box with a news content type. So we will definitely want to include that in our build or our thought process here. Let's see what else is next. All right. News. Oh, here's our details for the news item. So at least 2 templates are going to probably be needed for our news content type. So one other thing to mention as part of the framework is that Sitefinity, fully template driven. So part of the process today will be us starting the page template, as well as potentially identifying some widget templates or content templates. So in this case, we've identified now we'll say news, and already we've seen potentially a menu item content type as well as a location content type. So lots of things being identified along the way here. Let's breeze through some other things here. So events, Sitefinity does have an events content type out of the box, or a calendar type functionality, if you will. This is just another general page layout that we might have. You can see here, we can also start to identify some common things across pages. I just breezed through a few here. Let's look at the bottom here. The bottom of these page templates are all the same. We're identifying here, maybe a footer standard style for a page template, as well as we might want to look at the header here as well. I think we've identified that realistically these are the same on each page. Maybe some other commonalities are happening here, like this background image here with a font overlay, right? So again, just trying to identify some common components across pages. So as a developer or architect of these, I want to look at reusable pieces, right? So is there a way I can do this more than one time in Sitefinity or really any CMS for that matter? And the answer is yes, absolutely. And we'll look at how we do that in Sitefinity. Let's just make sure we get through all of these designs here. And I wanted to show you just a basic listing of those. Here we go. All right, so we're working in this design folder here again for what our developers have designed out here, and here's all the ones again that we're looking at. They even took a wonderful effort for me as well. And let me see which screen this opens up here. Okay, they even created me a style guide. As well. So since we ship with Bootstrap 4, if you guys are working with designers, especially in the Sitefinity framework, you could say, hey, develop, oh, whoops, oh, let's try to open this a different way here. I don't know, must have crashed there. So let me just open this in Chrome. All right. All right, they have created a nice style guide for us here with our logos, icons, our primary, secondary. So if anybody's worked with Bootstrap before, these naming conventions should look very, very similar to you. So part of our operation here as one of the first steps will be overriding really the basic Bootstrap styling, okay?
Yeah, and I mean, even if you don't have a beautiful design like you have here, I mean, I think Bootstrap gives us a nice starting point. I mean, you can start,
Absolutely.
yeah, you can start your journey customizing things from a base.
Yeah, and oh, get work mute. So yeah, there's some great free resources out there. Last call we really we opened this up to the crew and asked us if we wanted to implement a predefined Bootstrap template that's out there, or if we wanted to work with these designs. And I think we collaborated and just said we wanted to continue to work with these designs. So yeah, they've even shown us some of our icons throughout the system: top navigation, hover, disabled look, the footer look, hover. They took it really above and beyond for us. So we have a great design team here. So yeah, but just some general thought process too that you can take with your design teams as well for utilizing Bootstrap.
All right. So which screen do you want to do first?
Yeah, I think realistically, home. I mean, why
Yep.
not? We got to start with the home page. And it's probably usually probably the most complicated design that we have, and usually includes most of the points to start with for the rest of the system. So yeah, let's take a look and see what we have on the homepage here. So we got the homepage design here. Um, so I mean, let's ask the group here. I mean, realistically, the, I'll take care of what we have to do in Sitefinity, but or teaching you what to have to do in Sitefinity. But as we look at this, as a what do we see here that we might need to implement into a reusable page template just by looking at the home? What is something that we can definitely that we see that we can reuse on homepage? I mean, definitely, the footer. We're going to definitely need to create that into some type of template, probably the header. But as a global or maybe a base template, does anybody else see anything that we should reuse across this system? Again, and we're looking for just a basic, base template for this system. No, we jump ahead, please. So the question, I know this is jumping ahead. After you install Node, we haven't done that yet. Good point. Um, do you create a separate SAS file or SS file to override the Bootstrap, then compile it? Yeah. So what we'll do is sort of, I like to create like a base override file. Sitefinity has some predefined components, so we'll outline those. But yeah, you're jumping ahead, but that's our next place to go. So high five for the question. Slider, module builder, yeah, definitely. Module header, layout footer, definitely. All in the layout. Yeah, you pointed out another option there too, that slider. I think this slider, as we think about the framework here, really there's a number of actually content types defined just on the homepage here, as well as some reusable components for our page templating piece. So yeah, I think as far as our base template goes, we would look at a header, a footer here, and then content items on the screen as well. Slider is definitely a
So
content item in our
when you say
system. Yeah, go
slider,
ahead.
you mean the carousel on the top, right, for the headers? Yeah, yeah, okay.
Yes, correct. Carousel, slider, yes. And our team took and as we flop through these three different homepage designs here, you can see our team has identified three sliders or carousel items here. So yeah, we'll also probably want to investigate to start to look at what type of let's be fair, a JavaScript library we should use there. But that's a next week probably kind of thing. So let's first just go ahead and look at our base template here again. And since we rifled through all these pages really quickly, we saw that header and footer is definitely identified on really all of these pages. All right. So let's hop it into Visual Studio. I'm going to go ahead and stop the run here, just so we can look at some interactions here. So what we're going to do here first is we're going to get the web config out of the way. And one thing I've already installed on my Visual Studio instance is our Sitefinity plugin for Visual Studio, but I want to run over that with the team real quick. So let's manage some extensions here. We do have a Visual Studio plugin. So if we go for online and we search for it, we really search Sitefinity. We have our Sitefinity VisX here. You can see it's already installed on my machine. But go ahead, this should work for 2017 and 2019. What this is going to do is it's going to help me scaffold out some of the major components that I'm going to need for my Sitefinity development. Okay. 27 for Visual Studio again, 2017, 2019. This also installs the CLI onto my machine. So there is a Sitefinity CLI, and some new enhancements in version 17 are coming. And some of those are going to work around some one-click upgrade type of options. So some of those things are coming to our CLI as well, some enhancements for upgrades. So keep a lookout for those.
Yes. See, scaffolding, when it works, it's a beautiful thing.
Absolutely. Yeah, definitely. Let's briefly touch what we can scaffold out here. So if I pick a folder here and I right click, I can go add, and then Sitefinity at the bottom here. We got resource packages, which we're definitely going to focus on today. What is a resource package? I'm glad you asked. That is our theming folder, if you will. You'll notice here, let me just hide these for a second. We also have a resource packages folder. This is where our themes for Sitefinity are going to go ahead and live. And as a reminder, we ship out with a Bootstrap 4 out of the box. But let's pop this open here again really quick. Sitefinity. All right, resource packages, page templates. Pretty self-explanatory there. That's going to be your page templates for the system. A grid widget. So a grid widget is what we call a layout file in Sitefinity. This grid widget will allow us to break the site down into multiple columns, if you will. Now, in our case, these grid widgets are all going to have Bootstrap classing in it, but if you decide to use another framework for your mobile and responsive, you can make those grid layouts follow whatever framework you're utilizing. A widget. This is a MVC widget. Model, view, and controller will all be scaffolded out using this particular implementation here. And we will, during these course of our Sitefinity Mondays, we're definitely going to get into that. Module builder. This will scaffold out the basic interactions for a module. What is a module? This is an installable component into Sitefinity where you could bring in additional functionality. I really want to get into those as well during these dev talks for Sitefinity Mondays as well. But the module builder, again, an installable component to Sitefinity, can include maybe some custom MVC widgets, custom logic, a whole bunch of capabilities can be implemented in one of these modules as well. I like to include, helper classes, some, occasionally into some of those types of things. Again, you can install backend pages, you can install custom widgets. Really, the possibilities are quite endless. So, module builder, really powerful addition to the framework as well.
Hey, so look at that in the chat room. IIS Soling is saying, "Didn't know this was available. Always did this by hand."
Oh, yeah. Well, so there's been a couple of iterations of this module component. We did have with Thunder, if anybody has been around for a while, we did have with Thunder the capability to build out and scaffold out modules that went away for a time period. Now we're introducing this module component back into it. It'll scaffold out the basic classes that you'll need to get started. So please install this and get going. The CLI, as a side note, is also open sourced, everyone. So we can interact with the CLI, which is the underlying components of the VisX. In fact, the VisX is also open source. If anybody wants to take a look at that, it's all available via GitHub.
All right, and J Parsley Matrix is saying that there is a complicated question. Is there a way to make a custom grid layout work in forms, like web forms? I think, in my experience, if you create a theme.
Sure.
Yeah,
So I think what they're asking is, so Sitefinity has a content type called forms, and I think they're asking if these grid layouts will. Yep, the forms module. Yep, thanks for the clarification. These custom layouts should be implemented in that forms area for you to be able to drag and drop those in there as well. Definitely in Sitefinity 12. In some of the older versions, there may be some stipulations whether it's only available in the web forms version, so the Microsoft version of web forms, right? So there might be some stipulations there. If you have any questions, reach out either to the support team or contact your account manager as well, and they can get in touch with us if you need some additional training or depth, that's out there. But yeah, they should be available for that forms content module also. Great question. All right. Okay, so we covered the VisX. Well, actually, I mean, realistically, this is really the next point of our juncture here is we need to create a resource package specifically for our theme. I like to create another resource package rather than working in the Bootstrap 4 one. Why? Well, during the NuGet upgrade process, so as a quick intro to upgrades, it'll happen via NuGet as well. But we will upgrade this Bootstrap 4 folder in theory, so I like to leave it alone and not modify it so that the scripts can see that it hasn't been modified. It can replace those files, and I can do a simple compare on any of those view files if anything needs to be updated. So just a quick side note there. But let's go ahead and right click on the resource package, and let's go ahead and add and Sitefinity. And let's go ahead and add a resource package. Again, this is the core of our theming component components starting point. Woo, get my words out there. So again, anytime somebody selects a page template from this folder structure, it'll then tie in all together all these resource package components as well as widget templates and other pieces. So let's go ahead and give this a name. I like to name it similar to my project. So since we're focusing on this one company called Coriander, oops, if I can type right here, Coriander Lane, and then I'll just call it BS4, so I know it's a Bootstrap 4 layout as well. The template name is really what it's. You don't have to change it or mess with it. We'll just go ahead and click OK. It's going to open. You'll see command prompt open up and do some magic behind the scenes here. We'll give this a quick second to scaffold, and we'll refresh our project here. And hopefully we'll have our new components here. All right, so you can see our Coriander Lane _ Bootstrap 4 folder was nicely created, and we can take a look at the structure of what's involved here. I think we briefly covered this last week, but just as a note of what's in here, we have our assets folder. I think pretty self-explanatory. We're going to have our source in here, like our SAS files and such, like jparsley _ matrix brought up. We will be installing npm in this folder and getting that going. Client components, we don't need to worry about that folder too much, but the grid system here, these are where our layouts live, so our grid layouts, as we mentioned already. So I pop one of these open here. You'll see this is a nice 3-column layout. We got our Bootstrap 4 classing in there, looking great. So if I do need to scaffold additional layouts, these would be in here, or grid widgets. Our main focus is going to happen here in our MVC folder and views. So let's go ahead and take a peek in here. This holds all of our views, including our page templates as well as our widget templates. And again, as a reminder, a widget is a way to get data onto a page, right? That widget could be a dynamic widget, something like our out-of-the-box stuff like news, where it's flowing from a content type. Others might be static, like the card widget. This is used for calls to action, maybe those banner graphics across the top or other components. But again, the first starting point is our page layout, and this is going to be in our layouts folder and all alphabetical here. There it is, default. I like to rename it. All right. I like to name it something for my package name. Default, I mean, it's pretty generic, but this just helps me identify it in Sitefinity. Again, this is our default template here, and as you can see is Razor syntax. Again, I'm going to rename this. I like to name it something, along the lines of my project. So Coriander Lane, and put base in there. I mean, you can case this, however you want. I like to, Pascal case everything, uppercase, first case there. All right, so we renamed it. This will automatically get pulled into the back end of the Sitefinity for me. I can create multiple layouts in here. You can scaffold them, of course, so we can add a new, Sitefinity. I could add a new page template simply, by scaffolding it out here. but we'll stick with this base one for now. The really only unique component to Sitefinity really falls in these SF placeholders. So really our starting point to this system is you need one of these SF placeholders. This alerts the Sitefinity template builder in the back end that this is a drag and droppable place. Okay, so we're just going to start with one for now, and that's really all we need. These HTML sections are also important components to Sitefinity and should remain there. The only last thing I'll do is you'll notice we have our style sheet across the top here. It followed, since we copied it, it followed the naming convention that we had before. Realistically, we're just going to replace this Bootstrap component naming convention. We're going to replace it with our folder name here. I just like to copy and paste things just to make sure I don't mess up. Escaping here. Sam, are you eating chips or something? What are you doing, bro?
Thought I was muted. Gummy bear.
Oh, gummy bear, and you didn't bring anything for the whole class. Uh-oh. Somebody's in trouble. All right. So I replaced this naming convention here by putting in my Coriander Lane Bootstrap 4 folder name assets. And this is, again, the default style sheet. Let me get the right words here. Out of the box. All right. So I'm not going to play with that for now. We'll leave that alone. So I just updated the naming here. And again, these HTML sections are very important components of Sitefinity. We're actually going to load in some CSS and some JavaScript later in widgets through these head sections. It also will allow me to load things in a lighter weight capacity, right? So only load what you need. In some different widgets later, maybe something like our carousel, we might load in some extra JavaScript components, to make that happen. I don't need it on every page. So I'm going to maybe load it in the head, the top, or the bottom. Again, I don't need it on every page, so I'm going to side load it, if you will, on that individual widget. All right. I know a lot of information is coming through here. We want to do one other thing, and as somebody pointed out already, we want to install NPM. So let's go ahead and do that. This is all outlined. Actually, let me pull this up here. This is all outlined pretty well here in our front end stuff. So let's go ahead and head over to our docs and let me pull this out. So front end, whoops. All right, I think this should get me where I need to go. Let's see if this quickly pulls me up. All right. There we go.
There should be a meme here. Like, one does not simply install NPM because you're bringing down a big part of the internet with you.
Yeah, so I mean, the actual installation of Node package management is obviously outside of the course of today's call, but we'll show you the Sitefinity pieces of it here. So let's go ahead and look at that. Here we go. We'll have to go one level deeper in our documentation here. Okay. So NuGet. All right. Was it on this screen and I just missed it? All right, we got our resource packages, Bootstrap 4. Okay, that's fine. Oh, manage assets. I clicked on the wrong link the whole time. That was my bad. All right, so name of the package. All right, let's do some SAS. All right, so here's just sort of a basic layout of the structure of the SAS components that we're shipping with out of the box. Oh, and you know what? I asked them to update this, and it looks like we haven't done it yet. There's a little bit update that has to happen to this. You'll notice down here, and I tried to quickly hide it. This one is referencing Grunt. We do not utilize that any longer, but this should be updated with version 13. So I'm just going to put my foot in my mouth there. Let's go ahead and navigate over to our folder structure, and we really need to get into the root of our resource package for Coriander Lane. Wrong. Of course I did. See, and that's why I copied and pasted it earlier. But I'll fix some spelling. But let's go ahead and I'll just open up a PowerShell window here. You can obviously use command line either way. But let's go ahead and go npm install. So this is going to go ahead and apparently break everything. What's going on? Oh, I think I got to go one folder deeper, don't I?
Yeah, chatroom, I posted the link to the docs that you're looking at.
Oh, you found the real page?
No,
Look
just
at you guys
the
go.
same link that you have on.
Oh, same page. Yeah, thank you. I was like, oh, I thought you found the real page. All right, what happened here? Unexpected token in package JSON. All right. What's going on there? All right, let's go take a peek at that and see what's going on there. Oh, okay. This is our bad. I'll have to. All right. So what happened here was when this scaffolded out, it apparently we decided to add in the generator thing here, and npm didn't like that, which also brought me to a point of something I forgot anyway, which was to go ahead and update our package information name here. So let's go ahead and do that while we're at it, because I forgot to. All right. So let's go ahead and update that. Let's also double check to make sure there isn't anything else that I needed to update because I forgot. But I think that should have been the only. I just updated the name and we removed that piece. I think we're good. All right. Sorry about that. So let's try that one more time. All right.
While that's going, in the chat room, IS Long has another question for you about Font Awesome, which I think I've dealt with that as well. But go ahead and.
Oh, okay. It only renders in edit mode only when installed this way. That's a good question, Lowell. We'll definitely we can definitely dig into that. Yeah, if you feel there is an application issue, please by all means, create a support ticket. They're more than happy to help you if you feel like there's an issue. All right, so looks like we had another issue, and let's try to see what's going on here. All right, let me try one more time. So. All right, what does it say? Unexpected token in. I wonder if it did that to all the files, and that's going to be a big problem. So let me go take a step back here. All right, let's see if. All right, I bet you there seems to be an issue with the scaffolding, and I think it actually added that scaffolding stuff to all of our files. We just scaffolded it out, so that's not good. So what we're going to do is use our ever trusty find and replace to find. We're going to go for it. We're going to find and replace them all, but I'm going to leave them open just because we know this is a scary activity. Good news is it's all in source control. Uh-oh, it says the following. So maybe that wasn't the problem. What do we do here? Oh, it didn't copy all of it. That was the thing. All right, let me take a peek at one of these other files here. All right, yep, apparently that's going to be an issue. All right, so hey, we're gonna take that to the team after this call, but let's try this one more time. Is it really not pasting in that whole thing?
Yeah, probably you may have like some line breaks it's not liking.
Yeah, it must be. All right, let's try it. Try it a different. Let's see what I can see. Yeah, okay, so it's not pasting. All right, well, good. All right. Anybody have any other thoughts here? Now I could. All right, I got another idea. Since I spelt everything wrong anyway, let's do this in a different way. Let's just go ahead and delete this, and let's do this old school. let's go ahead and just duplicate this folder through Visual Studio. Or actually, you know what? Let's do it in the file system because it's Visual Studio. That's why. All right, let's try this again. It looks like we have a small issue with the CLI there, so I will bring that up to the team. So all we're doing here is we're just copying the out-of-the-box folder and duplicating it. And I'm going to spell things right this time. Coriander Lane. Okay, good. BS4. Oop, 4. Enter. Okay, so all we simply did was rename, duplicate the Bootstrap 4, renamed it. We'll go back into Visual Studio. Now we can refresh that folder. It should be living there. Okay, the problems we were having was when I scaffolded it, we apparently add some comments into there, which were making NPM and other things angry. So we worked around that by simply just copying the Bootstrap 4 folder that was there. Let's go ahead and replace this name. And don't put an equal sign in there. There we go. Okay. Save that. All right. Let's go into our layout. Views. Layouts. All right, let's rename layout folder and we'll call it coriander. Coriander Lane base. Okay. All right, we'll get there, guys. I promise. Okay. All right, there we go. And open that up. And a quick change again to that location of our CSS. And then, boom. All right. Now, this folder in here is going to be angry because it doesn't exist. All right, there we go. All right, now let's go ahead and open up a PowerShell here and try this all again. All right. You got a fingers crossed one or something there, Sam? SpongeBob with fingers crossed?
Let's see. I got a fighting thing. That's the best I can.
All right,
fighting,
let's fight it out. All right, here we go. npm install. Hey! All right. All right, so we are now installing npm. Okay, so I think everything went well. Dependencies, that's fine. Okay, I think we are good to go. So in theory, we should be able to go npm start. And now, so what the scripts that we've built in as far as npm, and again, I'm no npm expert by any means. Realistically, then is going to be watching a folder that we've set up now. It looks like there were some errors, so let's work on these together. All right, what happened? Okay. There's a problem with npm. What doesn't it like? So I guess we gotta go look at that bug, huh? Or that log there. It's probably a problem with npm. No kidding, huh? Oh, sorry. That was mean. Of course, I ran through all this the other day, and of course it worked, right?
So if you, sorry, my throat is really acting up today. If you did not have any CSS pre-processing, can you do without npm?
Absolutely. So npm is not. This is not essential for the project. In fact, you could write vanilla CSS if you want, or straight CSS, then just reference it, as needed. So we don't have to use Sass. That's just a personal choice and something that we, again, happen to ship with. So yeah, it really is completely up to you.
Yeah, I think you can move forward. Like one last thing to try would
Yeah.
be like what in the chat room Fitterspiel is saying is just blow it away and then reinstall, try again, lock the file, and rerun.
Okay, yeah, let's do that real quick. Yeah, because I think we should. Yeah, we're only planning to take about 15 more minutes, and we really didn't accomplish much because I mean we had good discussion. Excuse me, that's not what I mean. As far as how
Yeah,
far
I
the
mean,
project
again,
went.
these are like real world things we deal with.
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
Once you get all of the pieces going and you are on your way, then that's nice and smooth. But you have to go through some of the pain.
Oh hey, you know what? I want anybody think it's because I didn't run it as administrator? Also, Visual Studio can use a different node version. Oh, good point. All right. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, so I deleted the packages. One other thing I think I might want to do too is make sure I'm running that stuff as administrator, just to make sure on that too. So let's make sure we're running as administrator. So let's get over to that. So change work code it live Sitefinity web app resource packages and then coriander lane. Boom. Okay, we made it to the resource package. Let's try again. npm install. We're now running it as an admin. See if that makes any difference. npm install.
See, we don't we don't do that for a Mac. Like we like shooting ourselves in the foot, and we just do sudo everything.
Oh yeah, right.
Don't forget to delete the log file.
Saw that. I don't know if I deleted it in time, so we'll see. This person must know I'm not very good at reading full instructions. All right, we're running. Go, internet, go. Okay, going. All right. Ooh, that looked better than the last time too. All right, well, dependency's fine. We'll check back. I mean, that's a usual thing that I've seen here. Oh, oops. And let's try it again. So npm start. All right. That looks. Ooh, I see green stuff. That's better. And a big win for Federspiel. You gotta. Can we get a dancer or something there, Sam? Let's get some dancing. SpongeBob dancing. Okay, so we got that completed. Okay, so I mean, just to touch really quick on, and then what? Actually, let me do two things. One, let me start this running, and then two. So as far as my structure goes, I usually like to get into the right folder. Okay, so the default location that we set up for the SAS is to generate the everything out of the project folder here. So here is the file that we come out of the box, and right now it's loading up vendor. It's loading up the Sitefinity content that's needed, and then here's where you'd start to bring in your structure. For me, I like to create a folder within here. I usually give it my project name or something similar, and then create a base. And then in that base, I'll do that override for the theme colors. That's what we were talking about earlier. Oops, and that started up on another screen there. Let me get that down here. So yeah, I think, going back to that question from, I think it was jparsley _ matrix, is the folder structure, or maybe it was somebody else. But yeah, I usually create another folder in here. And then I like to sometimes too, depending on how complex my widget designs are and things like that, I'll even create some a widget structure and then create CSS for potentially or SAS files, excuse me, for each one of my individual widgets. And again, the opportunity will arise then if they are complicated enough, or if you are doing a sense of side loading of components. When we start to build out widgets, you could then consider loading up smaller files like CSS only when those widgets are placed onto a page. So complex custom folders or file structures, you could easily do that with a separation of CSS files or even JavaScript. So we don't ship with any uglification out of the box, but you can absolutely implement it as needed for JavaScript, obviously following NPM standards, and then placing it into the config file. All right, let's see. Should be pretty close here. All right, we made it to the home page. All right, so what we're going to prove here is the fact that our new template is here and loaded in the back end of Sitefinity in the page template building area.
And how would you know?
That's a great question. Let's go do that. So under design, page templates, we should now have a new template called Coriander Lane Base that we could start to build out our template in Sitefinity. Or we can add additional HTML components into the file or the layout, which I definitely want to do, and I'll show you what and where. So let's cruise down through this and see if we see anything. Here it is, it's right in front of my face. I'm like staring at the screen. Hey, is it there? I'm using a different screen than normal, and the font's a little smaller, I promise. All right, so here it is right here, and you can see the that it's based off of the file that we generated in the system. If we open it up into the builder, we're going to have one place for us to drag and drop, and that's going to be what's it? Content placeholder 1, I believe, is the name of it. Do we still have it open? Yeah. Let's look at it here. Main content area is actually what it's called. Okay. So we should have one drag and droppable area. Oops, helps if I actually open it. To click and start to drag and drop our build. Now, if we go back and take a look at our designs, and there you go, you can see our main content area. Here's the grid templates that we have now. Actually, let's prove one thing really quick.
In the chat room, Ferris Priol is saying it's nice that the path is shown for the theme.
Yeah, for sure. So you know where it's located, and you also notice too that we ship with a number of those default templates as well. So that's definitely there. Let's quickly scaffold out a grid widget here for the team. I'm just going to use the base there. I'm going to replace where it's going to go. This is going to go into the Coriander Lane _ BS4. We're going to put in a new grid widget, and this is going to be for our container fluid, just so because I noticed in our designs we have some stuff that needs to stretch edge to edge. So we're going to just call this one container fluid, and then that way we can just proof out some design components here. So let's get this scaffolded out here. It won't let me refresh this in here, will it? So yeah, this is one reason I like to run in IIS, is because I can't refresh these things while it's running.
Mm-hmm.
Unless anybody knows any tricks to do that.
And also, like, once you step up to IIS, you can open up, like, you can punch a little hole and you can open up your IIS to others to test, which I don't think IIS Express does.
Correct. Yeah, well, it's hard. It's definitely harder. Yeah. Okay, so let's just make sure that. Here we go. All right, so you saw here. Okay, so here's our container fluid. All right, we'll just quickly do this in here. Okay, I'm just going to make a couple quick changes here. So I don't need two divs here. I need a class around this called container fluid, and it doesn't need to be a row. It needs to be a container fluid. Now these are just labels in Sitefinity, most of these things. So instead of column 1 here, we're going to call it container fluid. We'll just copy this over here, and somebody make sure that I don't remember right offhand make sure I got that syntax right. I guess I could look at the regular container here. Make sure I get the order correct here. Actually, we can just probably copy this one to be fair. Let's just do that. And then we'll just do dash container fluid. Okay, so we just copied the original container, and basically again here, I'm just trying to make sure that I have all the right components to get going. So here's again a basic grid system. I'm going to save that. If we go back to the back end of Sitefinity,
if you are watching the chat room, just to make sure you're typing things right. Did you use a capital L anywhere, and also an equal container fluid?
You guys are awesome. Thank you. What did I do? Oh, that's not the right one. We were in Notepad. That's right. All right. Good. Okay. Yeah. I switched files a bunch of times, so thank you. That is. Yep. Thank you, guys. I think we're good. Here's what we should be using. So let's go double check that. Oops. And here. Okay. So we've reloaded that. Let's just reload the back end here. In theory, this should then load up as a new grid template for us. As long as everything's working. All right, there it is right there. So we got our first container fluid and our first grid template into a page template that we've started to work on. Now, let's prove one other point here real quick with the last few minutes. Let's see, to go back to a question from earlier, and I apologize, I forget who asked it, and I'm not looking at the chat window right now. Let's see if that was available for a form here real quick on our item, and it should be, but I just want to double check. So all we did right now was jump into a content type called forms. This is our drag and drop form builder, like contact us style forms. There was a question earlier, do those grid layouts come into here? And yes, we should have them available here. Oh, but looks like something else is going on. Okay, well, we'll double check on that. But yeah, looks like we either approved an issue that you may have, and I think it was J_matrix that was asking earlier. Let me check into this as well. So I got 2 action items for this week. Definitely, I got to check in on some issues here.
So while you're noting that down, like, are you saying like you could set this up like for a responsive layout, like your grid and your fluid structure, and then keep bringing that into every content type that you're adding, so everything kind of inherits from the same?
Yeah, more or less. So the grid, the form area works a little bit different. Everything else will interact with the pages area, so they'll definitely have those grid layouts. But yeah, the specific ask here was, does it flow into the forms area? So it looks like it's showing up, but adding it to it looks like there might be a potential issue. So we're going to report that to the team.
Yeah, this is actually fun because you are encountering issues as we go along each week, and I'm sure you can go and shout at folks.
Yeah, we're going to. We're going to shout top of our lungs now. So we had an issue with the CLI adding markers. Okay.
And Federspiel is saying, I think that last thing of you dragging the grid into that form area could be because of it's trying to find it in the Bootstrap theme folder.
Yeah, yeah.
Could be.
So the one way, yeah, no, he's absolutely right.
Say he, she, or they.
Yeah, I know who that is too.
All right.
I know who they are too. Yeah. So yeah, it's a good point. Yeah, it's calling to the general grid system thing. So one thing that we can do in Sitefinity, so as a quick note, sort of at the end of the call. So some things we'll do is I'm going to get this checked into source control. I'm going to continue working on some stuff next week. I'm going to get the header peeked at, but if somebody wants to, they can definitely pull down the repository, see if they can get it set up. And I'm hoping that we can sort of collaborate, and get some of these things ideated. And then, I'm also going to stick in there too all the resources, obviously, so people can take a look at those. And I'm hoping that we can just continue these types of collaborations moving forward for the weeks to come.
Yeah, so folks in the chat room, I think
Yeah.
Jonathan pasted the link to the Git repo up in the comments section if you want to scroll up. And yeah, Jonathan, I think these are great things to kind of see firsthand, and maybe there are some struggles in there, and that's for real. Once we get it all set up, once we have our moving pieces, then we are ready to rock and roll. So yeah, are you up for continuing to teach us this in upcoming weeks?
Yeah, as long as everybody's up to hanging out some more, I'm more than
I'm
happy.
definitely game. And I know you mentioned like some folks in California reached out to you and
Yeah.
wanted to
Yeah.
change the time. So we could like starting next week push this back a little bit, so it's not like super early
Yeah.
in the morning for West Coast. But otherwise, you'll find us right here on Coded Live.
Yeah. Thanks,
All
everyone.
right, so that's it for us for now, folks. Like I said, we have a big thing coming up tomorrow. That's our quarantine coding session, 8 hours long, and then we keep on streaming Wednesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays as well. So, yeah, thanks a lot, chat room. We love you all. Thanks for hanging out with us and having fun with us and seeing us maybe stumble through some of these things. But this is real. So we appreciate you a lot, and we will see you right here next week.
Thanks, everyone.
All right, cool. Thank you very much, and bye for us for now.